Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Atlanta. Let's sing together, shall we? Please rise. In body or in spirit, this is We Are a Gentle, Angry People. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a justice-seeking people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a justice-seeking people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a land of many colors, and we are singing for our lives. We are a land of many colors, and we are singing for our lives. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing for our lives. Can we have one more? It's called 1 Foot Lead with Love. There's a new chorus. If you don't know it, you will. We sing it like 12 times at least. And then we get to the verse. It's a call and response. So I'll sing a thing, you sing it back. It goes like this. You gotta put 1 foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put 1 foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put 1 foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put 1 foot in front of the other and lead with love. Don't give up hope. You're not alone. Don't you give up. Keep moving on. You gotta put 1 foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put 1 foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put 1 foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put 1 foot in front of the other and lead with love. Lift up your eyes. Don't you despair. Look up ahead. The path is there. You gotta put 1 foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put 1 foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put 1 foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put 1 foot in front of the other and lead with love. I know you're scared, and I'm scared too. But here I am, right next to you. You gotta put 1 foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put 1 foot in front of the other and lead Nice singing, everybody.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Jonathan Rogers. I'm an affiliated community minister at Abundant Love Unitarian Universalist in Atlanta's historic West End. I was sitting here before the service asking myself, am I happy to be here this morning? Am I excited to be here? And I decided I was guilty on all counts. As many of you may know, I am also the Faith Outreach Coordinator for Freedom University, Freedom School for Undocumented Students here in Atlanta. I wanted to share some celebratory news that this year, 12 out of our 18 graduates at Freedom U received full tuition scholarships to college. I'm so proud of the assistance that UUCA as a congregation and its members have provided to Freedom U and its students over the years. In the fall, 5 of our graduates are going to be going to Oglethorpe, and although their scholarships cover tuition, they do not cover housing. So if you or anyone you know lives within walking or public transportation distance of Oglethorpe, and you would be willing to host one of these students for the next academic year, please let me know after the service or send an email to the address revjonathan@alove.org. We also have a student who has moved out of their home this spring because of domestic violence issues and needs $2,000 to pay rent until she leaves for college. So if you would be willing to chip in and help this student in their time of need, again, please talk to me afterwards or send an email to the address on the screen. Thank you all so much. Welcome to UUCA, where we are transforming lives through courageous action and soulful connection. We welcome you who identify as Jewish or Christian or Hindu or Buddhist, or if you identify as atheist or theist or agnostic. Whatever your understanding of the holy is, you are welcome here. Your non-binary beauty, your genderqueer beauty, your trans beauty, your gay beauty, and lesbian and bisexual and heterosexual love is all welcome here, especially on this first Sunday of Pride Month. Your Black identity and Indigenous identity is cherished and honored. Your neurodiverse self is cherished and welcomed here. This is your place. We are your people. And now I would like to welcome Andrea Berra, a leader of the Transforming Incarceration Advocacy and Action Team, to light our chalice. And now let us say our chalice lighting words together.
May the light of this flame illuminate our tradition of seeking
Invite all who yearn for acceptance and ignite our passion for justice and peace.
Our story this morning is Justice Is by Preet Bharara, illustrated by Sue Cornelison. Justice is important. It takes hard work and an open mind. To find justice, ask all kinds of people to join your search. Justice needs to hear every side of the story. Justice asks questions, lots of them. Justice isn't afraid to right a wrong. Standing up for justice can get lonely. It can even be dangerous. But justice is worth it. It's worth the risk. Justice can be slow. It can even be denied for a time. Sometimes people worry that there is no justice in the world. But don't lose hope. Justice is always there, waiting for good people to find their voices, waiting for brave people to stand up together, because justice can't do it alone. At times, it needs an army at its back. Sometimes, one clear voice can shine through the darkness and say, "This is not right." But we must always stand and watch, because injustice is always waiting too. We, the people, must make laws to protect justice. And we must make sure that no one is above the law. Because justice matters. Together, we can make the world a better place for everyone. Amen? Amen. So I'd like to invite our Transforming Incarceration Advocacy and Action team to the chancel to help lead us in this morning's movement prayer. And as small but mighty. That's right. And I'm going to invite you to rise as you are willing and able and join us. First, we bow to honor the Spirit of life. We lift our arms and embrace the gifts of Spirit. We bring these gifts unto ourselves with gratitude and breathe and smile. We share these gifts with the world. We remember to be present, honor, embrace, gratitude, share, be present. Amen. Blessed be. So at this time, we would like to invite our children 5th grade and under to exit and join preschool or their creative workshop for this morning. Please note the location for these is just down the hall on the 1st floor. And as our children recess, please take this opportunity to greet your neighbor, especially someone you have not met.
Stand still and silent. All the life she's lived. Broken glass windows, but she knows her bones are good. Wind whistles through on its way to somewhere else. Water dripping from the faucet. I don't wanna be a ghost in this house. We found ourselves a fixer-upper. Waiting around for someone to care. And we got stories in every dusty corner. Those stories are all we had. He came on like fire, like a sky of endless blue. The crowd disappeared, and then we were just me and you. It's roses in the morning, and all your dreams are coming true. But time will leave you faded, and something good can be broken too. We got ourselves a fixer-upper. Waiting around for someone to care. And we got stories in every dusty corner. Oh, stories are all we had. Oh, stories are all we had. Oh, stories are all we had.
Manuel Terán,
Oh,
Tortuguita,
stories,
asesinado por policía fascista
all we
en el bosque
had.
Wenoni
Oh,
223.
stories
Hay que
are all
cambiar
we
la historia,
had.
una historia de liberación y
Oh,
justicia.
stories are all
Tortuguita
we had.
in Wenoni Forest in 2023.
Oh, stories
But now it's time for us to change the story, and change the story to one of justice and liberation.
Oh, stories are all we had. Stories are all we had.
We are religious people here, guided by our faith to stand up and protect the land. We are supported by our community, which are right there. We are here with the support of not just the people, but the forests and the environmental protection movement globally. We will not leave here. We will stand here until this forest is rebuilt.
61 people are being charged for racketeering, which is illegal organizing, just to organize to defend this forest. What's next? You won't be able to organize to form any local group, even your local PTA. They're criminalizing people organizing who will push back against whatever they want to do.
I'm doing this because this planet is so important to me. I wouldn't be here, none of us would be here without the soil beneath our feet, without the trees that give us oxygen.
The Wilani Forest was once the home of the Muskogee Creek peoples, and it was taken from them. The Muskogee have a life-affirming, sacred relationship with the land and other sentient beings that should inform our relationship with all of nature. It is also troubling to me that this training facility is in a predominantly Black community in DeKalb County. It is institutional racism at work when communities of color are repeatedly degraded, this time by the presence of increased militarism in their own neighborhoods.
The corporations that are empowered to make the decisions that affect our lives are not going to make the right decisions. So we have to stand up and take our own future into our own hands through direct actions like this. We need as many people as possible to join in this fight of nonviolent direct actions. The more of us that are willing to take the risk and come out here and put their bodies on the line to save the forest, then we will win. It's ultimately up to us whether we win or not.
We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing home. Every round goes higher, higher. Every round goes higher, higher. Every round goes higher, higher. We are climbing home. If I stumble, will you help me? If I stumble, will you help me? If I stumble, will you help me? We are climbing home. Though the road is steep and rugged, though the road is steep and rugged, though the road is steep and rugged, we are climbing home.
Let us put hands on hearts. Feel the heartbeat, connection to life. Breathe in peace. Say to yourself silently, I will love myself. I will love others. And that love can heal the world. You are invited now to say the names of people you are holding in your heart this morning. Speak their names out loud into this holy space now. May all beings find connection. May all people find comfort. May all of us find ways to be more loving to one another. Spirit of life, love eternal, we rest in holy gratitude. We surrender to a mystery beyond ourselves, asking forgiveness for our mistakes, those times we have been selfish or thoughtless, breathing in and out. We offer grace. We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. We honor our earth, supporting and sustaining life. We breathe in, opening our hearts to wonder. For just one moment, feeling a deep connection with all beings. Let us calm our bodies and our minds. We breathe in peace. And then we exhale. We relax into this space that our intentions make sacred. We enter into the silence. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing on.
Good morning. I'm Kay Golan, your lead lay minister, and I'm so glad to see you this morning. Did you know that the United States has 2 million people behind bars at any given time? The most people and one of the highest, if not the highest, incarceration rate of any country in the world. Also, forced servitude of prisoners is legal as a punishment in the U.S. Today's offering is being divided between UUCA and the Multi-Faith Movement to End Mass Incarceration, a nonprofit founded in 2018 by the Reverend Raphael Warnock, representing Ebenezer Baptist Church, and the Reverend Catherine Henderson, representing Auburn Theological Seminary, and Rabbi Peter Berg, representing the Temple here in Atlanta. They share a vision of convening of this multi-faith movement focused on the leveraging of spiritual power, people power, and resources of faith communities toward the effort to end mass incarceration. UUCA became involved with this multi-faith initiative in January of 2023 when, after attending a conference at Ebenezer Baptist, congregant Joy Bora was moved to lead this congregation to the creation of UUCA's own Transforming Incarceration Advocacy and Action team. This UUCA initiative, led by Joy and Andrea Barnes, now has two major projects under its umbrella: a pen pal program and Sisters Walking Together, a companioning initiative that pairs women recently released from incarceration with women at UUCA and congregation Beth Havarim. Also, with the absolutely generous support of Diane Loop and Roger Easley, TIAA has been able to assist in opening a transitional house for decarcerated women that is already serving several inhabitants. Please visit the Showering the House table in the social hall after the service for more information. The issues involved in the mass incarceration crisis in the United States are numerous and sometimes overwhelming. But together, multi-faith initiatives can make a difference, one step at a time. So please give generously today. In addition to your pledge, please add to the basket or use Realm, which you can access from the QR code behind me. At this time, when there is so much pain and injustice in the world, this is something you can do today, right now, to help create more social justice. The offering will now be given and gratefully received.
I'm going back there where the mountains rise like smoke and the rivers all roll out to the Pacific. It's right on back there to all the kind and gentle folk where the people still move slowly in the city. And though I know now this mossy place, those rainy days did birth me in an old mill town. Ghosts were all around. Stolen land was never empty. Oh, And I'm going back there where the settlers stole the stage and erased the native people by the morning. Yes, right on back there where all the books were torn a page and that history was all the white man's glory. And though I know how this mossy place, those rainy days did birth me in an old mill town. Ghosts were all around. Stolen land was never empty. Oh, oh,
Please join me in the dedication of the offering. To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action we call community, we dedicate our lives, and these are offerings.
Thank you so much, Kay, for this offering, and thank you, Andrea, and all those who are working to end mass incarceration here at UUCA. I'm going to talk about the police this morning, and we cannot end mass incarceration without abolishing the police. Because the police are how folks get into jails and prisons. Now, don't get me wrong, I am a big fan of police movies. Police Story 1 and 2 are my favorite Jackie Chan movies, where he goes undercover to take down a cartel in Hong Kong. I rooted for the police in Fargo, The Departed, and Bad Boys. My favorite sitcom is Brooklyn Nine-Nine, about an NYPD police precinct. I grew up loving the moments when Columbo or Matlock would spring the trap on that episode's criminal and reveal the evidence that they were the perp. I love watching someone with special powers seek righteous justice on behalf of the community, even if they have to bend the rules a little bit to do so. And if the wrong person were sent to jail, I just assumed that they could break out like in Shawshank Redemption or Ernest Goes to Jail. In reality, the police are a more sinister institution. They function to protect capital and property and are willing to risk human life to do so. For example, the Atlanta Police Training Facility, popularly known as Cop City, faced protester opposition last year. Humanitarian and environmentalist activists lived in the forest where it was scheduled to be built, seeking to protect the trees and waterways of Weelaunee Forest. Law enforcement responded by killing one of the activists who was occupying the forest. On January 18th, 2023, law enforcement officials from 7 different agencies, including the Atlanta Police Department, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, the Georgia State Patrol, entered the construction site just across from the site, the entrance to the site we saw in our video this morning. They entered the construction site where the encampment was and shot one of the protesters sitting in the tent 57 times. The victim's name was Manuel Esteban Pais Terán, aka Tortuguita, a non-binary environmental activist who used they-them pronouns. Tortuguita had legally purchased and possessed a handgun, which they had with them in the tent, and which the police report Tortuguita used to fire first. No gunpowder was found on Tortuguita's hands during the autopsy. No body camera footage showed them shooting, and non-police eyewitnesses say they didn't see or hear any gunfire coming from the tent where Tortuguita was inside. For myself and many activists in the Stop Cop City movement, Tortuguita will always be a symbol of bravery in standing up for the environment, and his killing will symbolize the extreme means law enforcement are willing to use to achieve their undemocratic goals. I have personally watched the police use unnecessary levels of violence to break up peaceful encampments in the past. In 2011, I was part of a group of protesters who provided a protective circle around the Occupy Boston encampment when law enforcement was coming to break that up. At 2 a.m., local and state law enforcement brought a legion of squad cars and officers and at least one SWAT team. There was a proud delegation of Veterans for Peace activists who were standing out front between those of us holding hands in a circle around the encampment and the area where we could see the police were going to be coming in from. And they were carrying a banner with the Veterans for Peace logo and a couple of American flags on their shoulders. And you could tell it meant so much to these old guys to be standing up for the activists on behalf of the nation and the ideals that they had fought for and seen their friends die for. And they wanted to be right out front, using their status to protect those of us who were there to protect the encampment. And I'll never forget watching one of the aggressive, roided-out SWAT team members come charging out the back of their van and knocking one of the Veterans for Peace guys right flat on his back as he came running towards the encampment. And the SWAT team and the officers who were there began zip tying and Mirandizing all of the Veterans for Peace folks and those of us who were there to surround the encampment, and the unhoused folks who had joined the encampment for safety and company. And as that was happening, the law enforcement officials and sanitation workers were throwing everything that was there at the encampment into these large dumpsters, all of the artwork that had been created by the Occupy Boston folks and all of the tents that the unhoused folks had been living in even before coming to Occupy Boston. Anywhere you go in our country, unfortunately, there are examples of police being willing to use violent tactics against nonviolent protesters. The site where Tortuguita was killed here in Atlanta, in Welaunee, is the site of the future Atlanta Police Training Facility, which is an initiative of the Atlanta Police Foundation, the APF for short. Now, the APF is a police support foundation like the ones that you'll find in many large American cities. And once Cop City is complete, the APF will lease it back from the city for $1.2 million a year to use for police training. Now, I call this process undemocratic because the APF receives its funding not from accountable public sources, but from corporate donations. That means companies like Bank of America, Cox Enterprises, Chick-fil-A, Delta, Home Depot, and UPS will be making the decisions about how our law enforcement is trained, not our ostensibly democratically elected officials. And that feels particularly worrying in an era of rising wealth inequality. American workers are being squeezed harder and harder by capitalist labor exploitation, while those at the top accumulate ever more wealth. Historically, this is a recipe for civil unrest and revolt. And Cop City is an opportunity for these corporations to get out ahead of that unrest and revolt by training law enforcement agencies on how to violently suppress those sorts of revolts. Cop City is the leaders of Atlanta telling us, don't expect any social welfare or economic assistance. Our plan for the crumbling middle class and poor in this city is training the police to suppress urban uprisings. The good news for those of us seeking to meet this moment of crisis with compassion instead of suppression is that we are not alone. We are never alone, even when it may feel like it. I know we're not alone because last year, after I learned about Cop City in the wake of Tortuguita's killing, I got involved with a campaign to gather petition signatures calling for a ballot referendum on Cop City in Atlanta. And if there's one thing that UUs know how to do, it is gather petition signatures. Can I get an amen? Our folks came to Atlanta from all over the country, all over the state, including from UUCA, to help gather signatures. And in a few short months, we had gathered 116,000 signatures. Well, that was actually more than Mayor Dickens received votes in the last election. And he must have gotten jealous because he refused to count the signatures that had been gathered. The digital files of them are sitting in the Atlanta City Hall Records office. And if they ever do get counted, and there is a referendum on Cop City, the training facility will be good and built by that point. That's what happens when you take collective action for change along the established electoral, democratic, legislative steps these days, even in a city with a black Democratic mayor. And I would be against Cop City as an abolitionist anyways. But to see our city spending over $120 million on this initiative, and to see us spending money on the Georgia-Israel Law Enforcement Exchange program, the GILEE program, at a time when Israel is bombing civilian refugee encampments, knowing that that cooperation and those costs are happening at a time when we don't even have water here in Atlanta, is so infuriating and makes me so sad to see. And so today, let us be inspired by these injustices to build something better together. The world does not need more people who hate the police. There's plenty of that to go around already. What the world needs now is communities with the capacity to imagine and enact a more just and equitable world. A friend reminded me recently that the antidote to fascism, the antidote to capitalism's control over the violent use of state force, is to build community. The antidote to fascism is to build community. Can I get an amen? Amen. And so while the fate of battles like over Cop City are often out of our control, the opportunity to build liberatory community is in our hands. Building community is a spiritual practice, one related to the discipline of hope that abolitionist Mariam Kaba describes. Humans are social animals, and the spirit of life resides in the connections between and among all of us. when we gather in intentional and committed groups, that is where learning and healing begin. That is where our collective power starts to grow. That is how we honor the divine among us. In this community and in this movement, we gather not on the basis of ideological unity, but rather on the basis of love. We gather because, as universalists, we know that our fate is tied up with everyone else's, and that confronting injustice is not an act of charity. We do confront injustice because its existence anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Respect for the interdependent web of existence of which we are all a part acknowledges that perpetrating war, climate destruction, and dispossession of the vulnerable is not something that happens in a vacuum. It's not something that happens solely to other people in other places. The effects of such destruction inevitably reflect upon the perpetrators. There is no separation between the you and the I, the them and the us. We are cosmically united, and what we do to others, we ultimately do to ourselves. And instead of turning our back on the uncomfortable implications of that reality, love calls us to acknowledge that reality and to gather together to stop the destruction before it continues. Amen? Building beloved communities and relationships, that is a win in and of itself. As part of the Stop Cop City initiative, I've gotten to know other UUs and activists here in Atlanta and across the country. And I've strengthened the trust of relationships already in place, including with Reverend Dave Dunn and Reverend Jeff Jones, who we saw in the video earlier, UU ministers who put their bodies on the line, chaining themselves to construction equipment at the Cop City construction site. I've strengthened my relationship with Reverend Charlotte Arsenault from Georgia Mountains UU, who showed up to keep me safe in providing prophetic witness when I was worried that things were going to turn violent. I had a chance to meet Reverend Cecilia Kingman, who was one of the leaders of the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone during the George Floyd uprisings, and who gave a brave and timely Berry Street essay last summer on understanding fascism and identifying it, combating it, both within our movement and our society at large. I found her words so helpful in understanding the challenges that we face as defenders of democracy in this moment. Meeting and gathering with caring and committed friends and colleagues is what I have known will make me feel better, feel hopeful, feel recommitted at each stage of this initiative. Y'all, UUs are people of study and action. And Cop City has been a glorious example of how those two go together. I've learned so much about abolitionism as a movement, its origins, its descriptions of our current prison industrial complex, its prescriptions for how we build a long-term abolitionist movement as part of my preparation for being involved in Stop Cop City and as a way of explaining what's happening as I go. And at each stage of this initiative, there has been, unfortunately, ample opportunity also to observe the undemocratic and violent nature of the police in action. Just 2 weekends ago, I went to the construction site we saw in the video where Reverend Dunn and Reverend Jones were arrested back last September. And it is even more militarized and protected now than what we saw in the video. Within 1 minute of my arriving there and starting to take some video with my phone, I was detained by 5 Atlanta Police Department officers who took my ID and questioned why I was there. So to be able to learn at each step of this process about police abolition in theory and to see in practice what that means for the militarization of our communities, for the way that peaceful protest and dissent are opposed over and over again by the violent means of the police. The way that those have informed each other on my journey has been intensely helpful. And we UUs are at our best when we pause at each stage throughout our campaigns to reflect on our theory and how it's interacting with our practice and what our practice is informing our theory to change. That takes longer. And dang if I'm not just about as impatient as it gets with that process a lot of times. But if we don't take that time to reflect, if we're just continually going from theory to practice to the same theory to the same practice, we are liable to just continue going around in the same circles that we have for decades without making material progress against these very real and harmful, destructive processes in our city and in our country. And so that reflection is not just a good idea, it is a crucial aspect of us being who we say we are. This has also been an opportunity for interfaith collaboration in wonderful ways. The headquarters for the Stop Cop City referendum campaign this summer were at the same location as the American Friends Service Committee in Atlanta, our Quaker siblings in spirit. Our collaboration has strengthened both of our efforts, and as we've continued to educate ourselves in this process, we've engaged together in a series of webinars about Stop Cop City and about abolitionism, and those are available, the recordings of them, on the Side with Love website, sidewithlove.org. Our UUA staff has appreciated this collaboration because it's less work for them. And I've appreciated this collaboration because I get to wear my Richard Nixon mask and tease our counterparts about how Nixon was a Quaker. As we lift up the life and legacy of Manuel, Tortuguita, Pais, Terán, I want us to remember they were a committed humanitarian and environmentalist. They graduated from Florida State and went to work for Food Not Bombs and then Stop Cop City. Their mother, Belkis Terán, has become a staple at Stop Cop City rallies and speaks with courage and compassion about Tortuguita's love of the environment and their courage and compassion standing up for its importance to all of us. After their killing, Belkis announced that they, quote, loved the forest. They meditated there. The forest connected them with God. I never thought Tortuguita could die in a meditation position. My heart is destroyed. Their friends described Tortuguita as someone who fought tirelessly to honor and protect the Woolani forest, the sacred land of that forest. They took great joy in caring for each and every person they came across. We UUs will never stop fighting to protect the environment. It's in our DNA. It's going to be part of us as a faith tradition for as long as we exist. We ought to let it be a source of hope that there are brave and compassionate siblings in spirit who will always be with us in this effort, willing to put their lives on the line to save our forests and waterways. In the movement to stop Cop City, we have been stymied over and over again by the city council and the mayor's office here in Atlanta. And nonetheless, I have rarely felt more optimistic about the future of the movement for collective liberation, because I have witnessed our people carry forward a vision for a collective liberation and a more just and equitable world, even despite these substantial setbacks. At every stage, there have been reasons to feel like we were being set back, like we were stopped, we were stymied, there were no more ways forward, and yet at each stage, folks have withdrawn to strategize and to plan. And when it didn't work to have an encampment in the forest to stop construction in the Weelaunee Forest, folks took to the streets to get signatures in order to get a ballot referendum. Not signatures to overturn the building of Cop City itself, but just to put it on a referendum for the city. And City Hall and the mayor's office said, no, we're not even going to put it to a vote. And instead of saying, well, that's it, we tried, folks took direct action, like we saw in our video this morning, to bring greater publicity and public support and demonstrate our conviction about stopping Cop City. And when the construction continued, we went to the construction sites of the various contractors who were building Cop City, and we said, we're going to make your construction and your continued business harder until you divest from the Cop City construction project. And we will continue doing that, and whatever it takes to continue putting pressure on the contractors and on the city until we make sure that we stop Cop City, and if it gets built, then you can count that being the day when we will start the campaign to end Cop City. I have once again been convinced through this movement as a whole that the flame of determination to build a liberatory movement, to build anew in liberation, a better future, is held amongst too many of us to ever be extinguished. And so I trust that no matter what happens, we can find and join that light, that spark of liberation in the world, and it will continue to burn long after anyone in this room is gone. Friends, we are never alone when it comes to building community and strength. Nurturing and growing communities where we can be trusting and vulnerable with one another is our greatest source of power. I am so grateful for this UUCA community. Y'all's presence and collaboration strengthens my faith over and over again. And I leave us this morning with the words from my favorite poem, Say Yes, by Andrea Gibson. This is for the possibility that guides us and for the possibilities still waiting to sing and spread their wings inside us. Because tonight, Saturn is on his knees proposing with all of his 10,000 rings that whatever song we've been singing, we sing even more. The world needs us right now more than it ever has before. Pull all your strings, play every chord. If you're writing letters to the prisoners, start tearing down the bars. If you've been handing out flashlights in the dark, start handing out stars. Never go a second hushing the percussion of your heart. May it be so, and may we be the ones to make it so.
Let us rise together and sing a song that is a song of optimism and a song of justice. How can I keep from singing? My life flows on in endless song, a mother's lamentation. I hear the real, the far-off hymn that hails a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? What though the tempest round me roars? I know the truth it liveth. What though the darkness round me grows? Songs in the night it giveth. No storm can shake my inmost calm. While to that rock I'm clinging, since love prevails in heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing?
Take courage, friends. The path is often hard. The way is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone.
When tyrants tread